I will read you a letter, but I put into my score of the Beethoven Second Symphony. As you can see, I am coloring everything. So, a letter of Beethoven to one of his friends, 16th of November 1801. I am now living a somewhat more pleasant life. I have even started to see people. You can't imagine how desolate my life has been in these last 2 years. My failing hearing appears like a ghost, compels me to avoid people so that they think I am a misanthrope, when I am the opposite. Had I not read somewhere that one must not end one's life as long as one is capable of performing one good thing, I would have finished with myself a long time ago. This big change came about thanks to a sweet girl who loves me and whom I also love. For the first time in 2 years, I am having much joyful moments. Had I no troubles with my ears, I would have traveled the world, and I will. I feel my real use is beginning only now. Have I been ill till now? For some time now, my physical strength has been increasing, my spirit likewise. Your Beethoven can only live like this, no peace. You must see me as happy as it is possible on earth, not unhappy. I must grab fate by the throat. It will have no victory over me. Oh, how wonderful to live life 1,000 times.
Let me chip in as a biographer then, because what this letter is, I think, is a warm-up to the letter that he wrote the next summer that we call the Heiligenstadt Testament, which was a letter much more close to despair. But he talks about, first of all, he's been avoiding people. He's been avoiding society because he doesn't want people to know he's going deaf. Now he's beginning to open up again. This letter is not a crash. The Heiligenstadt Testament, when you have a disability, at some point you often crash. It just comes down on you, and that's what happened next summer. And he wrote this letter that he never mailed to his brothers, which is often said is part statement of defiance and part suicide note, because he was really suicidal at that point. He was not, I don't think, when he wrote this letter.
Yes, not. And that's why I think, that's why I put into this score that it starts D major and Papa, and the whole piece has so many hallelujah mood, so much celebrating. I think he wanted to bring out from him the fear and the anguish.
Let me chip in about that a little bit. We'll each use our own words for the tone of the symphony, but it's a comic piece, isn't it?
Yes.
He wrote, to me, Beethoven wrote 2 comic symphonies, this one and the 8th. And they both relate to opera, to me. They're both related to opera buffa. Now, I'd like to go back and talk a little more, if we could, about the background in terms of the letter you just read and the Heiligenstadt Testament.
Yes.
And he said to himself for the first time, I'm not going to get better. I'm going to lose my hearing. Scrawled on the outside after he'd already sealed it, though apparently he never mailed it, will I ever have a day of joy again? That would be too hard. And that, again, is so powerful. And yet, what did he do at the end of his life? He wrote an ode to joy.
Jan, I'm just, if you're saying this, I recently read a Tchaikovsky letter who writes, people are mistaken if they think when we are in a terrible mood or something, we cannot produce music, or when we are unbelievably good mood, we are producing a lot of good stuff. Sometimes it's mysterious. Why are we composing and not? Tchaikovsky is saying.
I'm surprised he said that. It would not surprise me for Beethoven to say that. But maybe to get back to the the introduction. Let me tell you what I think in terms of a larger, and then you tell me. To me,
Yes.
this is a series of characters as if they're being presented in an opera.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one
Exactly.
idea after another, just sort of jammed together in a huge introduction.
Exactly. Exactly. But also he wanted, I think, a progress, a change from the first symphony introduction, because this is much larger also and much more music. Yes, music. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Is putting musical characters in it. Also can be a self-portrait, the beginning, because Papa, this is enormous energy, somebody who grabs the fate at the throat, but the next second is the humble person who is lonely and looking for love. You know, somebody is unbelievable energy, and suddenly on his knee, can somebody love me, please? I am lonely. And again, dim, ba-bam, ba-bam, and again, this is changing each other, the inner poetism with the outside energy and conquering the whole world.
By the way, could you hold up that amazing score of yours? I think people should see this. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Can you see?
Yes. It's extremely colorful.
No, because when I'm learning it, I am giving to the different instruments different colors, and this is the way I'm learning it. But I always wanted to see colors. I love seeing colors. It's a kind of accumulating electricity, energy. Yeah, yes.
So if we imagine this as a stage, the opening, ba-dum, and then there are these, like an opera overture, a series of things.
Yes.
So this is like, maybe one way to think of it is like a small opera overture that's preparing us for the raise the curtain. Which is the
exactly.
When things just go wham, and we're in a whole different place.
Yes, perfect. You are absolutely right about different characters. His model was probably Haydn's late symphonies. And after Haydn's symphonies, around 20-25 bars, is coming the major happy melody. And here around the 23rd bar is not, people maybe were thinking that these opera characters will jump out one of the funniest opera characters sooner or later. But suddenly, and I think he wanted to somewhere surprise and shocking the listener.
I agree.
You know, because it's never happened that even after 22 bars, is not yet the Allegro con brio come. And I think the Beethoven First Symphony could have been Haydn's 105th.
Yes.
But this is not. It's something, these maniac ideas of sforzatos, or you know, I was counting once that the whole piece, if I'm repeating it there has 345 accent or sforzato or something. No,
you know what that is? That is Mozart on acid. Because Mozart is great with these kind of darting sforzatos and accents, but Beethoven is doing the same thing. He's going berserk with it.
It's totally berserk. It's almost an orgy of accents, this symphony. So I never found something like this. And I also, I know it's not statistic which makes a piece masterpiece, but I just calculated once, in the pieces there is 105 times absolute subito dynamics coming. So this kind of subito effect, the surprise, and I think he learned from Haydn. And Haydn was writing in a letter at the end of his life that I realized that I am tiring my listeners if I am not giving enough contrast and surprise for them. So the psychology of these millions of unexpected things is also how to keep people non-stop aware of his music.
Anything else about the first movement you'd like to say?
Yes, what I wanted to say, there are so much electricity, and sometimes I would have thought when I first was analyzing the piece, that now a drama will come, but it's never, you know, this kind of but maybe because of this letter, and he has a better period of his life when he did this movement, not turning to drama. He deliberately turns to positivum. Maybe he knew instinctively that he has to heal himself with healing himself with a positive music.
Yeah. And the second movement is going to be completely contrasting and just totally lyrical.
Yes, totally lyrical. Yeah, this is, I'm also telling to the orchestra, please, first movement, concentrate on the rhythmical element and the sforzatis, and the second movement is desperately, yes, teneramente. This is the side of Beethoven's loving side. I think it almost could be a love declaration. A major in Mozart operas, many times, A major is the key for a love
very good point. And it's also a bright key, but this is a very tender movement. And one of the things that I want to say in a general way, that when I was working on my book and studying Beethoven from the beginning and sort of relearning pieces and so forth, one of the things I realized, though it certainly has been said a lot, his slow movements, you talk about early first period Beethoven not always sounding like middle period Beethoven, though sometimes it does. But the slow movements are often the ones that are most distinctive.
Yes.
And Czerny, who heard him play, was a student of Beethoven, said what was most distinctive about his playing was his playing of slow movements, which he said were incomparable. And I think his slow movements sometimes, and you'll listen to one of the Opus 18 string quartets, which are often, I think, kind of Haydn-esque in their general texture and sound. But then there'll be a slow movement where you say, oh yeah, this is definitely Beethoven. And I think this is one of those slow movements that really are kind of prophetic of what he's about to become.
Some parts are almost dramatic, or for some seconds he is crying. The first time when he cries something is in the 37-38 bar, when the oboes is saying tim tim parim tim so there is something hurting, and tim, but again after very soon turning again to light. And,
well, to me, that moment and those moments in this movement are where the heroine in the opera is worrying whether her husband's betraying her. It's the tender character, the woman. To me, this is a totally feminine movement. It's where but she's suffering in some way.
Yes, there's
love and there's sorrow in this movement.
You know, Jan, when I feel that he is beating his demons, because I feel that Beethoven almost goes close to drama. And in the 143rd bar, when 1, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it could turn this to drama, but it's not turning.
So as in an opera, there's a mingling of moods. It's tender at the beginning, there's some sorrow, some anxiety, and then it returns to a joyous mood, and it integrates all these things. And I'm thinking of operas like Marriage of Figaro, the figure of the Countess in Figaro. To me, this movement for me, we each have our personal things, is an echo of the Countess in Figaro, who is suffering a lot because her husband
suffering a lot because husband is cheating probably. I know. For me, there is a little difference between Beethoven and Mozart, but Justin, Beethoven talks to mankind. Beethoven talks to all of us. I think Mozart is more sensual than Beethoven, because in Mozart, man talks to a woman to a man. So this movement is for sure very lyrical, but in Mozart, talking to a woman would be even more sensual than this. Jen, I have to say something. When I was studying Beethoven string quartets with our teacher, my chamber music teacher was György Kurtág, the composer.
Oh my God.
And for 5 years. And I still remember, he always told us, boys, if you play Beethoven, please use your own blood, not red painting. So I never forget this. It's anytime I'm looking Beethoven scores, I feel this, and plus also a huge inspiration on me. Wilhelm Furtwängler wrote that if a conductor forgets that Beethoven lived everything 10 times more intensively, every human expression and feelings Beethoven lived 10 times more intensively than a normal person. If he forgets this, the conductor, the result will be average and boring. So,
I agree. Though I still think we have to put the second in a particular place. When in 1801,
yes,
Beethoven said to somebody, we think it's 1801,
yes.
I'm not satisfied with anything I've written. From now on, I intend to take a new path.
Exactly.
And the new path was what we call the second period. This is not part of the second period. I suspect, and we said again, this is a remarkable piece, but it's not. It's a one-off. It's in voice, language. It's not like anything else of his, quite. Though the second movement is maybe closer. But I think when he wrote this, he was saying, I want to do something big and ambitious, but I'm not there yet. I'm not quite sure yet what I want to do with the symphony.
Yes.
And when he figured that out was the third symphony. The third symphony is really the last of his symphonic scherzos, isn't it? I mean, it's a really scherzo in the sense of a gay piece, a fun piece.
Yes.
And this
Yes.
is one of his funniest scherzos. It's absolutely hilarious.
Yes, and I read that this is the first time when Beethoven writes scherzo, not minuet. The first symphony is still minuet, and this one is it's a joke. It's a complete joke. I'm sure.
And that means it's the first symphonic scherzo also. Haydn invented the
Yes.
scherzo for string quartets. He never
Yes.
used it in a symphony. This is the first scherzo in a symphony.
Exactly. Yes, yes. So it's very funny. It's sorry to mention this, but sometimes I almost feel Rossini. In the last movement, in the finale, I have a real Rossini moment, and I have a story about this.
About the third movement, it's just the subitos we're talking about are just beyond crazy now. I mean,
it's crazy. Yes, I think.
First bar, it very fast, going by like dum, ba 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 bum. Rather, it's bum, ba 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 bum, ba 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 ba. It's these subito pianos and fortes and fortissimos are just nuts in this movement.
It's
and it's
nuts.
like it's bouncing, it's jumping around. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Total comedy burlesque almost, or something.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
It's farce.
Yes, it's burlesque. It's not even comic. It's burlesque. It's a kind of. You're absolutely right. And using piano, forte, fortissimo, piano.
To do it is not easy. And then there's this beautifully lyrical trio, which is kind of gallant.
Yes. Oh, one tiny thing I thought. This the second movement, when I am conducting in concert, whilst I am admiring the geniality, the beauty of it, sometimes I feel that is quite long. This movement is, I don't know, it's 9, almost 10 minutes, the slow movement.
Yeah.
And I think Beethoven wanted something, a third movement is serving like in a restaurant when you have a
palate cleanser.
Exactly. Something, a contrast, which is refreshing everybody.
And then the finale is the goofiest thing in the world.
It's unbelievably funny. You know what I read? Somebody, maybe it's you, but you wrote it because I'm always right. Love this. Somebody, it's not telling the joke. Somebody already laughing at the joke in the first.
Well, two things about that for me. One is that I tend to hear it as a jackass call.
Yes.
And two,
exactly.
part of the joke is really, I think, very sophisticated, very subtle. He's saying, that can't be a theme. That's just two goofy gestures, but it is the
yes.
theme. It's sort of like in the Fifth Symphony, da-da-da-dum. That's not a theme, but it is.
It's not a theme, yes. It's nothing.
Make a general, huge statement about Beethoven. I say in my book what I think, that Beethoven never claimed to be a revolutionary. Revolutionaries want to overthrow everything. He had no intention of overthrowing anything. Everything he did was founded on the past. I ended up calling him a radical evolutionary. And one of the things that Beethoven did, I think, and you see this already in his teens, he takes what Haydn and Mozart did and does them more.
Exactly.
Talking about that all the way through. He takes Mozart's forte pianos and that kind of darting quality and just jacks it up in intensity. And here he takes something like the beginning of the Hafner and Mozart Hafner Symphony and just makes it absolutely lunatic.
This is a great word, lunatic. And and after the obvious contrast, which is coming the 26th bar, it's almost flirting. I mean, it's again the feminine side coming in, but and now it's coming for me the Rossini. I'm always telling orchestras a kind of Rossini. 52nd bar. It's a kind of entertaining, but a little bit cheeky music. And I feel I even taking the tempo slightly faster. And 1 year ago, Andras Schiff heard my Second Symphony, my friend, the great pianist Andras Schiff, and he told me, why the hell are you going a little bit faster in this funny moment? And I'm saying, I think it's something Rossini, and I wanted to show this extreme humor with a tiny bit more paprika and caffeine in it.
By the way, talking about the whole idea that is a theme. Well, what do you do with a theme? You develop it. So he develops it. You know, I'm looking at the bar where he's going, but he takes that little and just goes all the way down the orchestra with it. Other times he's going bum, bum. So he develops it just like you would develop a regular theme, but it's not really
exactly
theme at all. It's a joke theme. It's a gesture. They're treating it as a theme.
And Jen, here when he goes to D minor after 117, I again, when I first heard, I thought that maybe he goes again for something threatening and dramatic, but not really goes.
No.
You know, no. He did not want it. He did not want to do in this symphony anything really dramatic.
This is an opera with a totally happy ending, and everybody's happy. And at the end, that they have their glasses raised. And,
yes, and everybody laughing at themselves. Jan, after talking to you, I'd like to conduct this piece again.
How are you going to rehearse with everybody at home? How are you doing that? Have you already done it?
No, I did it now, first time for the Verbier Festival Chamber Orchestra, that everybody played at home their parts, but I sent them a rehearsing video, and I'm saying, in this bar, do this. I went through, there is a 45 minutes film, and I'm, this is the first time I did it in my life, yes.
Well, the first time you had to do it in your life.
Yes, had to do it, exactly.
Well, Beethoven, I think, has a lot to say to us in our play, partly because he wrote during the Napoleonic Wars, which were devastating all over Europe, and it went on for 12 years, and off and on. And I think in the Eroica, which was originally called Bonaparte, that piece is about Napoleon. That's the story behind it.
But I feel about Beethoven symphonies, it's like nine brothers. They have the same blood, but they completely different.
Yes.
Something like this. Yes.
Every symphony is in a different world. I mean, the fifth and sixth were written around the same time, and the sixth is the anti-fifth.
Exactly.
Every time, everything the fifth does, the sixth doesn't.
And imagine how does it start? The third symphony starting, pam, pam. Fourth symphony starts with darkness and total piano. Fifth symphony, yapapapam. Sixth symphony, tiram pim pa taradam. Almost shocking contrast. Bravo, Jan, for your brilliant books. Bravo.
Thank you, Gábor. Bravo for everything all these years.